What's going on, everyone? Welcome along to Arsenal Fan TV, and this Saturday it's that game we always look out for first when the Arsenal fixture list is announced. Spurs at home in the North London derby. I'm absolutely buzzing for this game, as I'm sure all of you are. It's going to be a really great spectacle for us, and we've got a great record in the North London derby. Last season we beat Spurs 3 times on the trot, some absolutely amazing results for us last season. Beating them 1-0 at home in the Premier League, 2-0 in the Cup with that lovely goal from Thomas Rosicky, and then beating them 1-0 at the Lane, which was a great result for us. And I'm expecting a pretty similar thing this season, to be honest. If you look at this Spurs team, it doesn't strike any fear into me whatsoever. In all honesty, I'd have been more worried about playing that Spurs team from 4 or 5 years ago when they could boast the names of Rafael van der Vaart, Luka Modric, Gareth Bale. They had a really good, great squad at their disposal, and maybe an arguably better manager in Harry Redknapp at the time, who really seemed to be getting that Tottenham Hotspur team to click. Right now, under Pochettino, you know, he's a manager that's not really standing out from any of the other managers like Tim Sherwood, Andre Villas-Boas. He's doing a very similar strategy, and if anything, I still rate Tim Sherwood above this guy. I don't really see... He's got a very naive approach, as do the players. Their attitude on the pitch isn't a great one, and there aren't any names in that Spurs team that really strike any fear into me, apart from arguably Christian Eriksen, who I think is a great player and should be doing a lot better than a team of Spurs' calibre. Other names you've got in there is Eric Lamela. He's certainly a player that on his day can be absolutely formidable, but he hasn't really kicked on this season. He's had a good start to the season, don't get me wrong there, got some goals and assists, but he's kind of dropped off in form, and the whole Spurs team has really. I don't think we could be playing them at a much better time. They had that 1-0 defeat at home to West Brom last weekend, which was a terrible result for them. And if you look at how they played in that, they were garbage, absolutely awful for the best part of 90 minutes. Didn't even threat West Brom at times. They looked really poor going forward, really lacklustre display from them, right to left passing. Eriksen was the only one who was really trying to get things going for them. And I think we can really take advantage of that. And one transfer that Spurs made during this summer that I can't really seem to get my head around is certainly the sale of Michael Dawson to Hull City. I just can't get my head around it. I know the guy's getting on a bit, he's certainly not the player he was, but he was about that only authority figure that Spurs had at the back, apart from maybe Yunus Kabul. But it really helps when you've got a big English authority figure in the centre of your defence, and they've lost that now. And you've got players looking around, looking for some kind of authority in that back line, which they haven't got at the moment. And their defence is very, very fragile. West Brom took advantage of that with that goal from Morrison, shortest bloke on the pitch by some distance, and he was just unmarked from that corner. We've got to take advantage of that. We don't score many goals from set pieces. Although saying that goal Sanchez scored in midweek against Southampton, that absolute peach of a free kick. Again, that's another goal that deserves to go on and win a game. We did kind of hope in a sense that because we're not winning those games where he's scoring these absolutely delightful goals, that maybe he'd want to spur on, score more goals in games to make sure that we make certain of the win. And it's really going to be good to see how we line up in this game, of course. I don't think we can take too much notice of that performance and that display against Southampton in midweek. You've got to remember, that was a very, very, very unbalanced side. You had players coming into that team who hadn't played together for absolutely ages. I mean, Francis Coquelin hasn't played with Arsenal for years. The same goes for someone like Abu Diaby. And then you've got players like Isaac Hayden being thrown into the mix. Lucas Podolski hasn't played with us for a good few months now. So it was a very unbalanced side. Players all integrated together. So I don't think we can take an awful lot of notes from that. And it was an okay display from Arsenal. In some respects, we were unlucky to lose. But then again, Southampton arguably were the better side and deserved to go through. Now, looking at Spurs' League Cup fixture in midweek, they have beaten Notts Forest 3-1, as you would expect, as they're a championship side. But for about 60-70 minutes of that game, Forest were by far the better team than Spurs. They just looked very lacklustre. If it wasn't for the introduction of Harry Kane in that game and Eric Lamela, then I don't think they'd have gone on to win that. I just thought Spurs were very disappointing in that game. And you'd be surprised considering the amount of money they spent, and they haven't really reinforced over summer. To be fair, they didn't really have to, considering they'd spent so much the previous summer. And in Pochettino's defence, it is going to take him a lot of time to get used to these players, but he's in a job where you don't get time, unfortunately. And we've got to take advantage of that. We've got to take advantage of where they're vulnerable. And I think given the display against Villa, where we looked like a very composed team, it looked like the old Arsenal, we looked really good on the ball. I certainly think we could get a lot of goals in this. Alexis Sanchez, I want to see him start alongside Danny Welbeck, and then Mesut Ozil in there as well. I'll get into my Arsenal lineup straight away, actually. Chesney in goal, Chambers at right back, Mertesacker, Koscielny, Kieran Gibbs, Wilshere, Ramsey, Sanchez, Ozil, Chamberlain, and up top, Danny Welbeck. Now, I don't want to see it as dropping Santi Cazorla. I want to see Chamberlain start ahead of him, merely because I think we can really expose that Spurs defence with pace and power in this side. It is a defence that is very, very shaky. So with those players, the pace going forward and the skill going forward, the prowess of that attack should be unstoppable. I'm really looking forward to seeing how we line up against them. And then I want to see the Wilshere and Ramsey pivot deployed. Again, it's not something that we've seen too much this season, but I think these players really can form a famous partnership in many years to come. And I would just love to see it deployed. But in my head, I honestly think that we're going to be seeing someone like Flamini or Arteta play this game, which does disappoint me. In a sense, I'd rather see Abu Dhabi play because I thought he was really good in midweek as well. Not outstanding, but certainly one of the better players on the pitch in that game. But I don't. But saying that, would we really have much of a problem if we start Arteta or Flamini? Spurs had one shot on target at home against West Brom, so their attack is very poor. So I don't think we've got too much to worry about there. But whatever lineup goes out there, I'm going to be encouraging them all the way. I'm really confident we can get the 3 points in this one. Obviously, it's a monumental game and it's a lot more about just getting 3 points. And I really hope that we can put in a really convincing display and hopefully get a good few goals in this one and really put Spurs to bed. Anyway, guys, those have been my thoughts on the game against Tottenham Hotspur on Saturday. My score prediction, I'm going to go with 3-0 win to Arsenal. I'm really confident going into this, given how well we played the weekend and given how poorly Spurs have been in recent weeks. But anyway, like I said, like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to Arsenal Fan TV, as well as my channel AFC Game by Game. And as always, thank you for watching, guys.